They're just getting the job done. They're doing the mandate the president said he had to get, getting all of the bad people off the streets and back to where they came from. The problem is the numbers just aren't there. Internal Department of Homeland Security documentation are showing that the indication of less than 14% of the immigrants being arrested by ICE in Trump's first year back in office had a violent criminal record or conviction to deal with. That means 14% of people actually had something on the books to go with, as opposed to the other folks they're just chasing down because of skin color mostly. Nearly 400,000 overall arrests were made during the period, but only a small fraction were tied to actual violent offenses. For example, the murder, the rape, the armed robbery that the president touted as the reason behind all the mass pickups of people. According to disclosures referenced by news outlets, this is what we're having to see. 14% is the best number they have of people who have something to hide and run from, as opposed to just crossing the border. A broader data set of analysts has said that independent research shows that while ICE arrestees do have some conviction and pending charges, large portions do not have any violent criminal histories. Academic analysis suggests that at various points from 2025 to 2026, early in the year, the rising share of people detained by ICE had no criminal convictions at all, and many charged offenses were minor traffic-related incidents and were very much not violent. This is something found by factcheck.org, that they're finding out that these people aren't the bad guys that we're being told they are. Administrative officials have reported that ICE is focusing on the worst of the worst, the violent criminals, gang members, and serious offenders, and have plenty of stories to back it up. Unfortunately, the numbers just quite aren't doing that. DHS leadership has claimed large percentages of arrests involving people with criminal convictions, often citing numbers like 60 to 7% with convictions or pending charges. That's still not 80, 90, 100, but it's better than 14. However, independent data analysis contradict this framing for much of 2025 and so far in 2026, showing declines in the share of violent convictions even as total arrests have surged. Now, total arrests have surged because of quotas. There are quotas on getting so many people arrested and deported per day. So they have to push to pick up people. And then that means picking up people who are lower hanging fruit, less criminals because criminals tend to fight back. It is what happens. Immigration researchers and civil liberties advocates argue that the shift in enforcement has widened the scope of ICE's arrests beyond criminality because of this. The injured individuals are not the targets. They're noting that many detainees have no convictions and only minor offenses, not even worth chasing down, but they're chasing them anyway. In parts of the country, especially where ICE and large operations are conducted, basically outside of jails and outside of large races, they are lacking some serious criminal records to go along with it. The critics say that the data calls for in question the public safety rationale, often emphasized by administration officials. Basically, Donald Trump says we're sending folks in to bring order to this city. The city is lawless, and we need to do what we can do about, number one, getting rid of all the bad criminals, and number two, trying to get some people feeling safe. And as we said, those numbers just aren't making any sense. The emerging data has become part of a wider national debate about the interior immigration enforcement under Trump, and supporters of enforcement surge argue that the arrests, although they are often nonviolent offenders, can help uphold immigration law and public order in general. Opponents suggest that the aggressive sweeps that capture many immigrants without any violent records or any sort of real, thought process, if you will, erode public trust, traumatize communities, and divert resources from focusing on genuinely serious criminals in its cases. If we're chasing folks who with very nominal records, the people with the big records don't get chased. And that's your argument for that. Administration's focus on broad enforcement can lead to the removal of many individuals viewed as breaking immigration law. Crossing the border without permission, that is breaking the law, and may contribute to a sense of order in communities where local authorities request assistance, if requested. And reporting data details that the public scrutiny was just basically information out there is not quite as up to date as it needs to be. Essentially, the numbers out there is not going along with the verbiage and the story they're telling. So it's a difference between telling a different narrative or actually shifting the gears to go against the numbers of criminals to make it come out a bit more even in the wash. Meanwhile, critics argue that the low proportion of violent criminals among those arrested undercuts the claims, as we just said, and the primary focus of the law enforcement agents. And so the dangerous individuals out there and the dangerous individuals who are chasing these people down, because it is a dangerous job, don't quite match up to what's going on there. Why are we doing all this running around playing cop and soldier for people who aren't exactly putting up much resistance in the way more cops and soldiers need? The large numbers of arrested people without serious criminal histories can also strain community relations, increase fear among immigrant families, and, of course, hold up space in jails and hold space in detention for them bad guys. It also raises legal and ethical questions about the priorities and due process in general. Are we a nation of laws, or are we a nation of cracking people over the head? That is the ultimate question we have here, and I guess the ultimate question I have for you. What say you about ICE and their numbers? My numbers say about 14% of the people they actually pick up are actually violent criminals, which is not a lot, with a large, very large influx of agents coming into the agency and seemingly all over the place. They seem to be all over the place. Is it true? Is it a bit of exaggeration on both ends? You give me something in your comments.